And good morning. It is 21 minutes after 8 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning, the correct date this time for me, Superintendent for the Roswell Independent School District, Brian Luck, back with us. Morning, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing great. So how's month, I guess, is this month 2 officially into the school year here, I guess, technically?
Technically, yeah, I think so. It feels like, in some ways, it feels like it just started the other day, but in other ways, it feels like we've been doing it for about 12 years.
Right. School year began. It's like, isn't it Christmas yet?
Yeah. That's what the teachers are saying, the kids, too. So, no,
Sure.
It's give or take about, 2.5 in.
Well, I before we get into the meeting and all that stuff, I want to tip of the cap to every employee of the RISD.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, sure, there's problems, things that need to be addressed, things that have to be fixed, worked on. That's going to be given in any, I don't care if it's a perfect world or a not perfect world, there's things that just going to have to be addressed. But I know to the person, every staff member in the RISD is going above and beyond what they signed up for when they decided they wanted to do whatever profession they're doing with the RISD. And I know they're having rough days. Even I mean, and it's been like this since the word COVID entered our vocabulary here. But we've got people really making lemonade out of lemons.
Absolutely.
throughout the entire district. And my wife, I see it firsthand through some of the things she does. So, and I know that's times 1,000 here or 1,000,000 or whatever, many people are going through it here. And so, before we go, and I just want to remind that to everyone, because we get hot and tested in our things, and the world we live in is certainly if you're not mad about something in the world we live in today, then you've got your head so buried in the sand, I don't know what you're doing. But we're still humans. We still have people trying to do good and right things and doing the best despite the obstacles and hurdles. Let's think about that before we're ready to start eviscerating everything to get what we want here. You know what I mean? I just remember we have good people doing good things, and they're dealing with the cards they're dealt with too,
Right?
Just like you are.
Well, and I think, obviously, yes, I'm going to echo that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't say thank you enough to our teachers, and our board echoed that last night. But I mean, where we're at right now is such a unique set of issues, because you've got on one hand school problems and things that would normally pop up when kids are in a building and
Sure.
things are going on, and then you're dealing with that, and then you can't forget the other, because it won't let you forget it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're wearing a mask for one thing, and then we've got some quarantines coming up and different things that happen, and no, it's our teachers, they roll with it,
Yeah.
and they don't ask for anything in return whenever that happens, and usually a principal will go down and will say, hey, here's what we're having to do, and walk out, and it's left with the teacher to figure out how to pull that off. And I've made comments in other meetings with some principals. I said, I don't remember COVID class in my principal college.
Right.
But I do remember them saying, try to surround yourself with the best people possible, and let them do their jobs.
Absolutely.
And man, I tell you what, our staff are, from top to bottom, as far as support services and cafeteria and custodians and maintenance and yes, absolutely, tip of the hat to them for getting the job done.
Absolutely. And I would like to, and this is me this is me talking. This is for people, and I get it. You're upset about things happen. You also have to, and I know, and a lot of this, it's kind of died a little bit, but when we had the vaccine thing, and of course the Floyd School Board and what went on there, and some people are like, we should do that. And, well, have you heard anything about the Floyd School Board since that happened? They've disappeared because they've moved on. Other people are doing their thing, and it's the point I'm trying to make here is, you get mad, things aren't right. We can all agree if there's something that doesn't bother you, but how you handle it is very, very important. Even more so when you think about what's at stake, because at the end of the day, everything we're talking about here, whether you like wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, or getting vaccinated or not getting vaccinated, or should a kid be in a classroom or behind a computer, all these arguments we're having right now, if we don't figure this out, there's only one group of people that are going to get screwed, and it ain't us. It's our children.
That's right.
And so I get you're passionate and heated about it. please, that's not a bad thing. But how you treat and handle your passions and reactions is very key, because if you don't do it right, you're going to hurt yourself or others, but especially hurt the chances for our kids at the end of the day. And that's the end game. So anything that's hindering our kids' progress is something you should work on trying not to do.
Well, and I'm going to jump in front of where I was, but one of the things I wanted to make sure today too is I want to say thank you to the community. I mean, this has not been isolated effort amongst just the teaching staff. I mean, I have employers that are allowing their people to take off to be home with kids that have been quarantined multiple times. And you know what? They're dealing with it, and they're making the best out of it too. We've got parents that are just flat making it work, and grandparents and aunts and uncles and neighbors and man, that's not been overlooked by us as a staff and as a district.
It's a huge sacrifice for everybody.
And one of the things that we talked about last night at the board meeting was when the state came in and gave us a little bit more control and gave us the opportunity, it really did make this a community project. And I had no doubt when we started getting the word that was going to be able to happen, that this community would not make this work.
Sure.
And you know what? I think a lot of people have, I don't want to say put aside their differences, because I think those differences are still very much, they're raw. But they've also given us the chance to continue to go to work.
Sure.
And
do the job in which you intended to come in here and do.
And I'm going to tell you that's huge. That's paramount. I mean, those issues are still going to be dealt with, and they're still going to be worked upon. But as far as giving us the chance to teach the kids, and for the most part, we haven't had any major problems.
Yeah.
But I do think true that is a testimony to our community that they value the education for the kids above just about everything else.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And that hasn't been overlooked by us.
And that's how we're going to get through all of this.
Absolutely.
It's going to take the Herculean effort by the entire community, by our administration, our teachers, and our parents and our students. All of us are going to have to do our part, and we keep doing that. Sure. When we don't see things right, bring them to the forefront, but just remember, how would you do it? We all live together? We're all, at the end of the day, wanting the same thing, good for everyone. Let's remember that when we have our discussions and talks, and because you're not going to resolve anything by you may feel better yelling and ranting and raving and doing something that seems very irrational, but you make feel better. But you're not fixing the part that's really making you mad, and that's the problem at hand. And the only way that's going to happen is people talking, coming together, working it out, and finding a middle ground that everybody can work with. And that's we're going to get there. It's just going to take time.
Well, and it's some of it is setting aside that what new normal will look like might not look like what old normal will look like.
This is true,
and that doesn't always necessarily make it bad.
This is true,
but it will be different by its very nature, and it's tough, and it's tough for teachers that have been in the business for years that have got their way.
Yeah,
and I would have been that person, and I would have had a collision in my mind that it would have taken me a while to come out of this one, as far as this is the time of year that I do this, and this is how I do it, and when somebody would put something in front of it, that would have created an issue for me.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think that time is it's most definitely not healing anything, but it's providing us an opportunity to do the things that that work.
Sure.
We've stumbled, but we've found successes with this, and we're doing what we can to make that work.
And I think, and then after this, let's move on to the
okay.
Because I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again. But at the end of the day, that's how we solve these problems and things. We're not all going to agree on everything that's going out there, but there's good people doing hard work, and I'm telling you, there might be directions where it gets off the road a little bit, but at the end of the day, these good people are going to make sure that we get to our destination, even if we had to take a shortcut or we got lost a little bit on the way to the destination here. We're going to do that. And that's where we're at right now. We're dealing with something that nobody on the planet really has a lot of experience dealing with, a pandemic of this stuff we read in history books. None of us were ever on the earth when it experienced this kind of thing. And we're also experiencing it in a world where technology is like no other time in history. You know, let's face it, the things that they did during the Spanish flu in the 1817s and all that, you know, think about it. We get word instantly about COVID and China and all. They barely had phones at this point and radios. They didn't have, certainly no internet. I mean, it was a much bigger world back then. And they got through it. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
And again, that goes back to your expectations and maybe a little bit of being willing to be flexible with what expectations, you know.
Sure.
And most people approach some of these problems with you know, their past experiences or different things like that. And it is, like you said, no one else has ever had to deal with this. And God willing, we won't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Something like this ever again. I mean, I think it did open doors for stuff down the line. But I think as far as you know, trying to circle back to our district and it did make us have to think a little bit.
Sure.
And I think we're in a better spot.
Absolutely. You know, you ever hear the saying, what doesn't kill us make us stronger? And we're getting stronger.
It's amazing how close you can get to the other end of that before it gets better. But no, I think so. And like I said, it goes back to just the community and how fortunate we are to live in a community where you've got the opportunity to have your disagreements, but then also to come together for a common good.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of last night here. Was it pretty beefy agenda, or as agendas go, not too bad?
You know, it wasn't too bad actually. We've you know, routine stuff that we've had to do in the last few months that made all of the board meetings that I presided, you know, 3+ hours. I was really happy to not see one like that.
You didn't want a 3-hour plus meeting? Shame on you.
I kind of felt like we were setting a precedent there with my meetings, but no, just, you know, your basic stuff. We had some recognitions. We recognized Charlie's Angels dance team, state champs, of course. Goddard track for a state championship performance last year.
Good to them. Good for them. Yeah.
Britt Cooper was named 5A Athletic Director of the Year. We should just name that award after him.
We are very blessed to have a man like him in our district.
We are.
He's a good dude.
We had Coach David Lynn, Jeff's dad, the high school coaching Hall of Fame inductee. So we honored him as well.
That's great.
Always fun to recognize and you know, give a little bit of props back to them. Then got down to just some business. Went through a couple resolutions that were read for the board that are going to go forward to policy type things up in Santa Fe, and then got into our report. So you know, the big one for us is right now we are working in conjunction with the city to get a water line over to Mountain View.
Okay.
And that passed the other night at the city council.
Good.
And so we're moving forward with that.
So I won't have to, hopefully, ever, because usually once or twice a year I get on the phone. Oh, I'm sorry, water's out at Brendo Mid, no class today. So hopefully the days of that might be done, I guess.
Well, now, Brendo Mid's a different story. That's a little bit further from where the water's
at.
at.
I'm sorry, not Brendo Mid. Yeah. I got mine, I got my locations mixed up.
No,
yeah.
But Mountain View is they, you know, they'll start work on that hopefully pretty quick. We did, like I said yesterday when I texted you, we did have to shut Mesa down yesterday. Had a pretty gnarly water leak that we weren't real sure where the water was at. Felt like we had to kill the primary water into the building and just didn't feel like that was going to be the best thing to have kids in there and wondering if we could get them to the bathroom and that kind of a deal. So we went ahead and made that call, but they're back up and running.
Good.
And then, you know, went a lot into, like I said just a second ago, just, you know, appreciation to the community with our COVID, our teachers. And then again, want to re-echo the collaboration with the state that they've given us that chance. And
yeah, that's been a game changer. Once they decided we're not closing the school for 4 things and all, we figure out a plan to do it. That actually was a game changer for you guys. I know, because that was half of what you spent your days doing at that point. Is like, what do we do to keep the school open at this point? Now, I mean, obviously still mitigating it, but now you don't have to worry about, all right, there's one more case, we're gonna have to go virtual here or any of that stuff. We just got to get a plan.
There really wasn't a rhyme or a reason to how you could get a case reported, and it was 4 responses is what we were looking for, and a response could be within a 3-day window. So if you had 20-something kids that reported within the same 3-day window, that was 1 response.
Yeah.
And that might be at the largest school that you've got or the smallest school that you've got in town. And then, flip the script, one report from one student in a 3-day window that happens 4 consecutive 3-day windows. And
pandemic does that not make?
And now that school is now in trouble. So Dr. Steinhaus, which is the new Secretary of Education for the state, he's done an amazing job. And I didn't have a chance to work with his predecessor much. But I know it seems like they have opened the doors a little bit to the departments, and he's got them going back to work. Now, they may not physically be in the buildings yet, but we had a meeting. We meet twice a week, usually with the state superintendents, and then every other week with Dr. Steinhaus via Zoom, and just his willingness to listen.
Gotcha.
And the neat thing about it is
it's different than the public image of what people think the state government versus everybody else is kind of dealing with. Well,
and I know that we're going to get told no.
Yeah.
I know that's coming up, and I'm kind of preparing for that because we've had some really big wins. We know we were pretty close with indoor sports having some issues, and even outdoor sports with the mask having to come back, and he stepped in front of that. And I want to commend him for that. And like I said, honor and recognize when you hear people listening, and it's very refreshing actually.
Sure. It sounds like and this is just me spitballing here. It sounds like he kind of gets the fact that, look, people are willing to do the right thing, but you got to give them a consistent direction in which to go with that. And it's not that people are complaining on doing or not doing something. It's the fact that they don't know if they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. It's like, I've been told 1 minute do this and the next minute that. And I think by doing and getting ahead of this, he's at least eliminating some of that. All right, we're having this. At least now coaches and parents and everybody can plan for a direction to go in, And I think that creates in and of itself stability. In even if it's not the direction you necessarily feel we should, at least, all right, now I've got my marching orders. I know what to do here,
right? And it's ironic that you say that, because that is something that does give you a little bit of peace if you have a general idea of where you're headed.
Yeah.
I will say this: we have run into some situations where students have been quarantined. They don't necessarily have it, but they've been in close contact, and they do their 10 days and they come back, and then another student will come up with it, and then we'll have to quarantine that kiddo. And we've had to work with some parents as far as, you guys said that you weren't closing schools, and I'm like, we did say that, but we also still have to go with our guidelines. So again, it's a give and take situation. Sure. But what I really like about it is that we know we know our lanes now.
Sure.
They always tell us to stay in our lane, and we can widen those lanes a little bit here and there as we go. But again, it's been very nice working with somebody that feels receptive.
Sure.
And again, it might not always work like that, and
sure.
I know that's coming.
Well, that's life.
Sure.
That's how real life is. It's give and take. It's knowing when to press hard and knowing when it's time to compromise. That's in order to get the big picture done.
Right.
And that's called life, folks.
Pretty much.
Well, that's good. At least that clarity is a big thing and a good thing. And good, bad, the ugly, clarity is definitely a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So we've got parent-teacher conferences coming up Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. And oh my goodness, there is a ton of stuff going on Thursday. We've got volleyball and soccer and mid-school football. And I know lots of parents are going to be pulled many directions. The majority of our elementary schools went in more of a virtual route.
Yeah, my wife's doing Zoom calls and
Right.
scheduled Zoom meetings with each set of parents to go over the parent-teacher conferences this year.
And then the secondary schools, they're just it was awful tough to go, hey, we'd like you to set up 145 Zoom individual conferences.
Yeah. See, and here's for folks that don't understand why it's a big to do. Generally speaking, the elementary school kids have one teacher.
That's
They're
right.
with them all day. But when they hit elementary school, they have 7, 8 teachers a day, and I mean middle school and
Right.
on. So in essence, now the parent doesn't meet with one teacher. The parent meets with 7 teachers or 8
Right.
teachers, and yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
No, and you know what?
Virtually.
The thing about open houses and conferences like that is we really do appreciate the community coming out and getting involved in it. We are going to ask this time that, again, we've told all of the principals that we're going to have to monitor and keep an eye on how many people are entering the building. And of course, we're going to ask them to wear masks. But then too, if something should happen and you get there and, it's too crowded, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
We'll make
triage.
We'll make arrangements. I mean, as far as it's not like, well, you missed that night and therefore you don't get a chance to meet the teacher or talk to the teacher. Again, that goes back to the technology side of this, where they can, they can set up a Zoom conference or a phone call or an email, and with the kids having their preparatory work for when we do have to go to virtual, or if we ever had to go to virtual, there's ways that the communication could be there. So if they were to miss out on a chance because, let's say, they were busy or had to go to another child's game or something like that, we'll make sure that they get the chance to visit with the teacher.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we get it. It's because I know my wife deals with that too. And because a lot of parents have more than one child, weirdly enough, and they didn't come out the exact same time as the other kids, so they're in different grades and different levels, and so mom and dad are like, oh, I got my 6th grade meeting at this time and my 2nd grade meeting at this time, and oh, we got soccer practice at this time, and I get you.
Well,
I get you. It's
and
busy.
the neat thing about that's our normal life again.
Yeah.
And that's that part that again, it feels good to be stressed in that
worried
way.
about problems that are just everyday problems, life problems.
Yep.
So, but so if you have not heard from your teachers, your child's teachers about getting arrangements for parent-teacher conferences, go ahead and reach out to the school and get that done. I think at this point, most parents should have their times and
for the
things
most part,
set because it's all happening tomorrow night and Friday.
Yes, sir. So till 7 tomorrow night, and then Friday till I think it's 11:30.
And there is no class on Friday.
No, that's correct.
Because it's all parent-teacher conference day. So so if the kid says, "I didn't get to school today," they're right, but you have to go and find out if they've been doing well or not.
Hopefully you've already known that
That's
because
true.
you've been staying in touch. But
and even technologies, because I mean, like when we were kids. It was all relayed through us, the student. The report card comes home, the note comes home. Nowadays,
or not.
or not. Yes, mostly, depending on. But anyway, another story, kids. But kids don't have that ability to be deceitful nowadays because everything's online. And at any given moment, a parent that has a child in the Roswell Independent School District can go onto the school website and look at update status on his grades or his or her grades or academics right then and there. And of course, everybody's a phone call or an email away. You call the principal, or call the teacher, or leave an email saying, "Hey, I'd like to discuss progress of my child." Every one of those staff members are going to get back with you and talk with you about that. So. Please do the parent-teacher conference, but we live in a world now where asking your kid how was school is not the way you find out how all school is happening. You can find out on your own without the filter of your children telling you what they want to know and what they want you not to know. So.
Well, and with the Power School app, I get tickled. As a former teacher, I mean, I would sit down and I would enter, a unit's worth of grades. I put the assignments in, and then as they came through, then I would enter the grades. And it doesn't take very many. If you don't have very many grades in, and all of a sudden you put in maybe a lower grade, but you've got 4 others that you're fixing to enter right after that. I mean, I've had times where my son's grade has been like super bad, and I'm searching the house trying to go find him, and right when I'm getting ready to get him, then bam, the next grade goes in, and I'm like, okay, they're putting in grades today. So
Okay.
So I'm not going to kill you just yet. So,
You're riding the ship here.
yeah, hold up. The suspense is killing us, but here comes the next grade. So how'd you do? But no, and that is again very, very much appreciated by the staff whenever
Absolutely.
those parents stay in like that. And
Well, it's a team effort. When your children's extra education is a team effort. It's the onus is on you as much as it's on the staff and teachers at the school as well. We all have a part in making sure your child has a good education.
well, I think you've got everybody that had to pitch in last year. I'm curious as to how things are perceived differently this year after so many people had to jump in
Sure.
to help. Do you have neighbors that helped last year? Are they curious about your grades? Do they
Sure.
want to know? I mean, I think the conversations are a little different this year than
That's
they
good.
were, and it is good.
It's almost a back to basics feel. You know what I mean? Like we get there's so much going on in the world and the world we live in, and you get lost in all the politics and everything else. But and sometimes the down home sack gets missed a little bit there, and so maybe that's the blessing in disguise. The down home, looking at the part of life that a lot of us grew up in. Depending on how old you are, where the neighborhood, the friends, people knew each other. You knocked, I feel like as I've been getting older, there's less of that.
Yeah.
Like it's like, do I even know my neighbor? And it's like back when we were kids, everyone knew everybody and everyone played in the streets. And it maybe now, granted, technology and a lot of that changes the way we do things. I get it. That's like we were saying earlier. Sometimes change is inevitable on these.
Right.
But I think the value behind the neighbors watching out for the other kids and making sure they're not doing, you know what I mean? That's so important in the fabric of life and raising the kids too, and being involved in the grades. It's
right.
When I was a kid, I knew I couldn't do stupid stuff because I knew my neighbor would out me to my parents if I was, that's part of being raised, and I think we miss some of that sometimes.
Well, now they'd have a video of you doing it.
This is true. But I think maybe some of this is bringing our communities a little, we're talking to our neighbors now. We're talking to people that we see every day and are part of our lives every day that we don't have any relationships with. So that's not a bad thing.
Not bad.
It's a good thing. Yeah. I know I just saw the times. Are any other school board agenda items or anything we wanted to mention that we got imagine this me sidetracked on, but
no, that was, like I said, it was about a 2-hour meeting. Not a ton of information, new information was discussed. So
good deal.
Like I said, I think we got the crux of that, and we're still moving forward with time of the year, man. We're fixing to go into fall, and it sure does feel good.
We'll get out there, support the kids. Like you said, sports is happening. We're having football games and everything else. So, every Friday night out the Wool Bowl, there's going to be a game out there pretty much from now till December. So
don't forget your car wash that you talked about.
Yeah, the Big Red Band, they're doing their car wash on Saturday. And by the way, the Big Red Band reached out to me and let me know at Goddard. If you other middle schools, if you're having your events, please shoot me an email. I'll let everybody know. I get what I get, and I'll be happy to spread the word on that too.
I know
so.
Goddard's doing a mattress fundraising sale. They did that a few years ago and had really good success with that. There's signs all around their building, literally. They're out in the front for more information on that.
Let me ask you, and this may be too early to ask this, but I just want to get what you guys are thinking right now. One of the things that I know, because you were, prior to your superintendent job, you were the principal at Goddard High School, and I think one of the big public events that we encourage is Veterans Day, and that's coming up here. We're not that far away from Veterans Day, and kind of tradition.
Right.
Our schools, particularly our high schools, both of them, but Goddard always went. They go above and beyond to celebrate and to educate our students on the role of the veteran in our society. COVID's put a bit of a damper on some of that, but as far as the plans for this year, is there talks of doing ceremonies? Are they going to be able to, or is that going to have to be something we look at for next year?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Again, the hard one is that event takes so much planning.
Very much. It does.
And really with all of them, I know Berendo Elementary is doing a smaller type of a deal today for a 9/11 remembrance.
Okay.
More of a centralized with the kids that are there. If we can pull something off, we will pull something off.
More to come.
That one is one, like you said, that's near and dear to my heart and to lots of people's hearts.
Yeah.
if we can get something pulled off, we're going to.
Okay.
We just our problem comes back to numbers.
Yeah.
And the last thing I would ever want is to bring a group of people in that might already have some health issues.
We don't want to create a problem by doing
Right.
something, with good intention that turned out to be a bad idea.
But we've got to do something. I mean, that didn't even feel right last year.
Well, we are having the Veterans Parade. We're going to, my wife and American Legion, I'm part with that, and we're getting we've got a great speaker this year.
Wow.
This year's Veterans Parade and all that, the theme is the Vietnam War era. Jack Swickard, I don't know if people are familiar with him. He's going to be our guest speaker at this year's Veterans Assembly. And basically the plan, we're still working out rough details, but it's kind of like last year. We'll start the courthouse lawn. We'll have a little ceremony things, and then kind of a parade up to the Wool Bowl area. And then we're going to kind of gather in the Wool Bowl and have people can come and take advantage of free booths, events, maybe some music, and
That'd be awesome.
a family style laid back event there where you hang out for an hour or two and then go home and do. But nothing major, but something to honor our vets and to an opportunity for vets to come out and for people thank them and talk to them, and maybe we can give them some swag and some some love, and then But it's going to be a good. It's going to be that Saturday. I believe it's the 6th. That Saturday before Veterans Day in November. So.
Our first Veterans Assembly, we actually had a widow of a World War I vet.
That's amazing.
And now we're barely lucky to get any World War II vets.
Well, unfortunately, there's not many left.
No, I know.
It's and it's sad to say, Korean War's right behind it. I mean, we don't have many Korean War veterans left here too, and it's the march of time. We're going to be our Vietnam vets. We're going to be losing them here, and
I know.
by the time I'm old and dusty, our Vietnam vets will be. I'm just old and semi-dusty right now. But definitely. So, well, as always, appreciate the visit
Absolutely.
here, and thank you for some spending time. And if there's any time outside of our normal monthly visit that we'd love to have you come on, please let us know. And same with the school board members. Anytime they would love to come on and talk, they have an open invite.
I will pass that on, and I appreciate you getting the message out yesterday about Mesa.
No problem. It's one of those things that happens. And sorry, kids, you're back to school today. I hope you did your homework.
I hope you're already there.
Yeah. Parents, if they play the It's Still Broke game, they lied to you. Go get back to the house and get them in school. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
All right. It's 8:53.